Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodlands, joined as always by Lauren Khalil. Lauren, how are you?
I'm great, but Sean, I think you're better after the concert that you went to, because if y'all haven't been to Sean's Instagram, the most magical moment with him and Max.
It was fun.
Epic.
We had a blast. Like that, I can talk a little bit about it later, but I'll take that night to my grave, man. We had it was so fun, and featuring Tommy Marquez. Tommy, what's up?
Good evening.
What kind of manual labor did you get into today?
Well, we had inspections, put up silt fencing, finish hanging. I have cut and bent a lot of rebar in the last few days. So
look at you
with the hand bender too. Like, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. When that place is all said and done, you know how much you're going to appreciate it because you did it. You know?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's outstanding. Well, on today's episode, we're going to take a look back at, of course, the CrossFit Games. And now that we have Lauren here, spend a good portion of the beginning of the show talking about the in-person experience, because that is something that neither Tommy nor I were able to take part in. We're going to hear from some of the athletes. Lauren did, 572 interviews. What was it? What was the total that you did? I swear to God, every time I turned around, there was a new interview. I'm like, how is she doing this?
Honestly, you should have seen the setup and the way that I'm holding the camera with the phone while I'm trying to refresh the live stream on my computer. And then when I would hit a dead spot, I would try to hold it in the air as if that was going to help. But I had a system. As long as the internet was good, we were Gucci.
Kudos to you. That was impressive. I mean, like I said, every time I looked, you got on social media with the games, it's like, oh, here's 4 new interviews from Lauren Khalil with all these different athletes. So you must have spoken to everybody. But we're going to hear from a select few from this past weekend. And then we'll also take kind of a look forward as far as what we think needs to happen now to keep the momentum that CrossFit gained from, I think, what was a really entertaining weekend in Albany. But before we do any of that, we want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Balance of Nature. And I've said it before, I'll continue to say it, is that CrossFitters, we're pretty good at our diets, but the one thing that we tend to skip is the fruits and the veggies. And Tommy, you were joking about it last week with me. I was alone with my son for 6 days. You start cooking for a kid, like dinner when Dad cooks. It's 60s NFL offense. We're just doing basic dives. Like things don't get too out of control. This is not a 3 or 4 course meal. It's basic meat and potatoes, and that's it. So I didn't make a lot of veggies, and that's where Balance of Nature came in handy, because I used their vegetable supplements. Took care of me, got some fruit in me as well, courtesy of their supplements. So listen, if you want to make it easy and convenient, Balance of Nature has you covered. I love seeing the ingredients that they have: whole fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers, recognizable ingredients. That's what matters. The fruit supplement is made of ingredients like whole apple, whole papaya, whole mango, and whole strawberry. The veggie supplement has ingredients like whole celery, whole spinach, whole cauliflower, and whole shiitake mushroom. I mean, it's a smorgasbord in one little pill. And then you have the fiber and the spice supplement, which I know you're taking, Tommy, made of ingredients like whole apple, whole psyllium husk, whole cinnamon, and whole turmeric. There are 47, yes, count them, 47 ingredients of fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers. I love how convenient this is, and it helps me stay on track with my wellness goals. So if you want to get on board with Balance of Nature and really make your life a lot easier, you go to balanceofnature.com. You use our code TEF. You're going to save 35% on your first order, and you're going to get a free tub of their fiber and spice supplement. Again, that's balanceofnature.com. Use the code TEF, and you will save a whopping 35% and get a free tub of their fiber and spice supplement. Can't recommend it enough. Again, it's just it's super easy, especially if you have single dad time and you got to cook for your kid. You're not doing vegetables, right?
Hey, fiber and spice mixes well into oatmeal too, so it'll give you a little apple cinnamon kind of spicy side. It's delicious.
I'm making that a try.
Like that.
All right, balanceofnature.com. The code is TEF. Let's get into it. Let's talk about, because I really want to get the firsthand accounting here, because I've heard a lot of things from the grapevine and things like that. But what was the in-person experience like for you? Because you've been to Madison. Were you ever in Carson, Lauren?
No, only for semifinals 2 years ago.
So you know what that venue was like, at least. So you have at least been to all the games venues except for Aromas. which
Yes.
not many people have been there. All right. So what was it? What was your experience?
So I think that there's things that they did really well and things that they could look to improve on if it's going to be back in Albany location. Or just even looking at venues in the future. And every time you're at a new venue, it's going to have growing pains. Like, that's just the reality of it. I think that having everything in one venue, and Tommy can kind of contradict this because we talked about it earlier, was really good for the people that were there. It really kept everything in one area. And once you were on site, there wasn't a lot of area that you needed to travel to. So essentially, if people had like an Uber or came, you're set and there for the day. So I think that that was really great. I think that the programming, and we can, talk a little bit about this later. I think it was a really good format of having 3 events per day and also being done by like 6:00 every day.
Yeah.
I think was really good and gave people on site the opportunity to like still go get a bite to eat, walk in the downtown area, and like gave people more an opportunity to embrace what culture was in Albany. I think for Vendor Village specifically, so when you walked in, you went through security, and then the like main sponsors or partners were outside in that area. And the area was really cool. They had your favorite acai bowl place, Sean. You got your coffee there, and then, the main vendors. The issue with all of the other vendors is from there, it was about a 10 to 15 minute walk, and it wasn't really easy to figure out if you hadn't already walked the route a couple times, because it was in like the other building. There was like a sky bridge and then escalators. It was just really confusing to get out there. And I think just talking with some people, a good amount, or at least a good amount of the ones I spoke with, didn't realize that there was a vendor village in that other area, because without a map or knowing, it was a little bit challenging to find.
Okay.
Yeah, that's tough. And that's kind of something that wasn't the most popular thing in Fort Worth too, is that like, even though the walk was pretty clear to and from, the fact that like I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I gotta leave the Dickies Arena, I gotta walk, it's blazing hot outside, and I gotta walk this like promenade to get to Vendor Village. And it's not like an easy like, oh, let me go pop over there real quick. It's like a concerted effort type thing to go do that.
Yeah.
And I know that's like, kind of nitpicking and a luxury thing to have, but we're very fortunate in Madison, like you said, to have multiple venues on the same location, Vendor Village on the same location, having a complex that was easily walkable for everything, so you didn't really have to leave. I think it was kind of like that perfect combo. Same thing for Carson as well.
Well, because also like in Madison, people were forced to walk through it, so that is going to help for sales. It's going to help like get eyeballs. With this location, you didn't have to walk through it, so you could easily have missed it. I think if it was possible, once you got there though, it was good, but just the distance and figuring it out, I think, was confusing. If there's a way that they could block off another block of streets and give it almost that SoCal or Miami feel, where you're walking around different like outdoor areas, but it's all connected. I think that could be really great. Speaking to the venue itself, truthfully, there was only one event that I went inside the venue to watch, because the athletes that I was interviewing, I was able to get to them outside. But when I was in there for the final event, I mean, it had the vibe that you want. People were cheering. People were on their feet. I mean, ending any CrossFit event with an overhead walking lunge is always going to lead to really great stories. So you did get that electric vibe, even though the stadium was absolutely never full. But we knew that going into it.
That's my next question, because I've seen comments from people like, oh no, it was packed, and others like, why was it so empty? And I think the why was it so empty crowd had my vantage point, which was on TV, and there were a couple of shots, whether it was that section immediately behind the rig, a couple panning shots of the crowd where it was noticeably empty. But from people who are there, I've heard like, no, it wasn't that bad. It was actually better than it came off on than you saw on television.
Yeah,
That's probably true, because if the cameras are pointing back, like most people are sitting behind the finish line. Like those are the seats that I think like was the most condensed area.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a tough standard to kind of compare to, right? Because this is the first year like the arena wasn't sold out instantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So while you can say, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," it's like, well, okay, against what? A year, an event where there was never tickets left unsold, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the main arena was always sold out. It always sold out quickly, and this year they ended up doing a bunch of promotions where they're giving tickets away just to get people in those seats, and Mike Halpin did a great job kind of logging and tracking the amount of
Mm-hmm.
open or unsold seats the
Yeah.
entire time. So I mean, these are numbers that have been like well documented. But I from what I've heard, that it's very clear that the people that were in the seats there were diehards, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
For
and so
sure. Yeah.
so that they're going to bring that energy at those events, which is good. It's just, how do you start to get back to where it's like you're not just relying on those?
Did
So.
you get the sense that there was an international crowd at all? Because I would always be surprised that even just walking around Madison, how many people I would run into I remember running into a guy from Egypt who was in Madison. Yeah. And not that there were a bunch of people running around from Egypt, but just the fact that I ran into one. But it was a pretty good mix, especially in Carson. I mean, you got people from Europe over there because Los Angeles is very easy to get to. But I'm just curious if it seemed like a good international mix, or if it was pretty local.
From everything I saw, it seemed very, very much local. But even talking to some of the European athletes earlier in the week, or even some of the athlete managers that are from Europe, Albany, again, is not the easiest place to get to. So a lot of them were flying into Boston and then driving or renting a car, just because you typically have one, maybe two flights in and out. So a couple of people were dealing with delays or cancellations or switch flights. And then you get to these smaller airports. I mean, I deal with it all the time in Syracuse. If that flight is delayed or you miss it, getting in, you're going to have to wait till the next morning if it was at night, or spend the whole day in an airport. So I think maybe when spectators from Europe and other parts of the world were looking into it, it might have just been too expensive or too much of a logistical headache.
Yeah, and there are other factors that play into that as well that are beyond CrossFit's control too. So
yeah,
U.S. tourism as a whole right now is down, significantly down, and you're going to see that ripple effect across all types of events, and even to Lauren's point, I would say Albany is the least accessible city out of all of that we've had so far. You obviously have the greater LA area. There's multiple flights in. Madison, for being a quote unquote smaller town, still has a major university where they regularly have big sporting events for football, where hundreds of thousands of people are, having this influx into the town every other weekend in the fall. And then, they're a huge basketball school as well, and a big sports school in general. So they do have some infrastructure for at least a medium-sized airport to have some more flight options. And you're also next to, it's hard to say for Albany too, but Chicago is a major hub too, which a lot of people do as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to the programming, and not to break down each event by event, but I'm just saying the overall events themselves, because Tommy said this, and someone told me this who was sort of involved in the production early on. They compared it to a regional. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because I loved regionals. I love the regional competition. I love the venues. I love the setting, all the stories. I loved that time because it was, and when you think about it in total, okay, from broadcast all the way down, regionals, and in the early years, for the most part, we just had live broadcasts of the events. There was really no desk show. That happened later. I think the last 2 years we did, was it 2017 and 2018? I think we did that, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was it. You got to see the competition. There was none of the superfluous, hey, we're going to go to the desk now, or anything like that. You got to see every heat of every event.
Whoa, superfluous. Whoa, careful.
Well, I meant
word.
Sorry, I mean the stuff. I shouldn't say the additional bells and whistles that you would need for, as we were saying in our recap show. You need a desk show and all that stuff that used to be mandated kind of by the networks, because they would understand if we're going to put you on our air, more than likely we're going to get viewers who have no idea what is going on here, and we need very articulate, good-looking, knowledgeable people like Tommy Marquez up there on the desk to explain to people what's going on.
Baby.
Okay, thank you. What's going on and what's and why it's important and to tell those stories. But they didn't do that, right? They just we're going to show the athletes. It was more or less, except for one event, it was all in one spot. The races were great. It was the competition was a lot of fun, but it wasn't the spectacle. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we had our day 3 recap show on Sunday, it definitely felt like there wasn't the spectacle. There wasn't that pizzazz or snazzy element from the programming itself. And as the kind of days have gone by, I've definitely gravitated and felt more squarely about what you just said, that was kind of a needed, I don't want to say step back, but a
reset is what it felt like.
A reset of sorts, yeah. Because it was like regionals programming, where the focus, the excitement was the points race, right? Because it was where people's CrossFit Games dreams were coming true, right? And it was the performances of the athletes on the floor in the midst of what I would call CrossFit affiliate plus programming. So not just like the RX programming at your affiliate, but like the plus stuff, the stuff you would see at the gym, but loadings and rep schemes that would make your average affiliate guy go,
nope.
That's I'll wait for the scaled version to come out on main site kind of thing. And that's really what this felt like. And in regionals, you would also see trickle down effects from programming elements that were new or novel in the past. So something that would show up at the games for the first time would then show up again at regionals. And I think that was very similar in terms of, they brought back a movement that showed up at the games, but it was obviously much more manageable. And it felt like how they bring it back at regionals. It's like, hey, and then the comparison piece in the storyline that we always told and always discussed in our production meetings was like, hey, we have this reference point of athletes at the games struggling, and now look at every regionals athlete's got this in the bag. And it almost felt like that was the storyline too. Like, hey, these crossovers got a lot of people, tripped them up, pun intended, and now they're all flying through it. And so it really did feel like an expanded regional format. And for I would say a company and a sport where the last year has been dominated by the mistakes and missteps, and the a distrust from groups within the community over how they've operated since, you almost welcome just something that's there's very little drama, there's very little spectacle, and the main storylines that drive the day are the points races between the athletes and the performances of individual athletes in those moments that help elevate the event itself. And it's funny, it's like when you come back from I don't want to say it, we'll call it like a bachelorette weekend, right? It's like go 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 go, and you just welcome a quiet night at home, right? and I think this year was CrossFit's quiet night at home, back to more classic programming, something you do in your affiliate, nothing too crazy, condensed format in terms of total days and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it also does a really good job of strengthening their mission, not necessarily even mission statement, but the thought process that affiliate and sport are under one umbrella. And by programming stuff that people can test in their affiliate, again, probably not with the same loading, but you can say, Tia Claire Toomey's time was this when she did an RX for her. I wonder what my time is going to be when it's RX for me. And having those ways that you can build the in-person and affiliate understanding of these athletes and try to bridge that gap, because for the longest time, for the last 3 to 4 years, I can go to my affiliate and I can say, hey, do you know, I could list all the top 10 athletes and ask a general member, do you know who these people are? And a lot of them don't. And I think if there's a way that we can bridge that gap, I think that doing the programming this year was one way that you could maybe do that.
Yeah. And you can't argue with the results, because the results were fantastic. races on both sides, at least, the beginning for the women. And then even for the podium after that, look how close it was for the men. Like, it worked. As far as delivering an entertaining product, I had a good time watching all weekend long. I did miss some of it, but I think I got about 60 to 70% of what I needed to see to get a clue, to have a good idea about what happened. And I'm going back and watching some of the stuff that I missed, but I thought it was entertaining. The stars, especially on the men's side, showed up and performed. Like, look at the top 10 athletes, not a rookie to be seen, and familiar names and people who are now starting to become that next generation of stars that people want to watch. And you have a good younger generation coming up behind them. We got a glimpse of that. So I thought, overall for them, it was a win. Is that a dog or a baby?
As a baby.
Okay, I couldn't tell.
My wife
just eyes went up. I was like, Miles just walked by.
Okay.
Or was held by.
My wife just did a drive-by away from the bathtub. Just
No.
you know
Miles
that video
made many
where
appearances today.
you know that video where it's a recording of a woman leaving a message on her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend's message machine, and she's like crying, kind of like crying, but it sounds like a car engine going, and they edit it to the sound of like a Lamborghini taking off, and it's like, I just want you back, and they edit it to a car. That's what I got. Like, it was a soft whimper, but he just drove by.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a Doppler effect that was going on there. He went out the distance, so I was like, oh, was that what was that? Anyway, yeah, it was entertaining. So anything you want to add about that? Because I do want to get to some of these athlete interviews because they're good, and I just want to give Lauren her props again for all the hard work that she did.
Yeah, I think there's something, especially if we get back to like the classic CrossFit. I think there's something cool about. Well, I do think there's still room to add the spectacle back in. I think that's what pushes the sport forward in some regard. I do think there's something very poetic if you're just a romantic for the like core CrossFit methodology of basically saying like, hey, there's no trick or treat here, that it was just straight down the pipe and this is who excelled. I also am kind of going back and forth, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it. There wasn't a broadcast partner this year. They streamed on DAZN, which is the on digital streaming format as like boxing and fights and stuff like that, mainly boxing matches. I waffle between whether or not this year would have been a better year for a broadcast partner like CBS or ESPN than years past, right? Because if you're trying to relay that message for people that this is something that we're casting the net outside of the core CrossFit community, right? On these international platforms. Does this type of programming say, hey, this is something that everyone can do and bring you in? Or does the spectacle of like, hey, that's cool, I want to see what that's about, which we've heard from countless people, that's what brought them in, right? That or the documentaries and things like that. But there's always that give and take, because for the people, for every person that's like, hey, that's cool, there's also a person that's like, whoa, I'd never do that,
I think that I always go back to the thought process of the drunk guy at the bar. He sees something on TV and he's like, I can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I feel like with something like the 1RM back squat, for instance, if that was playing on ESPN on on a Saturday night and people are sitting at the bar, there could be some, old football players that are thinking, oh yeah, I could do that, and keep watching. And then all of a sudden they see him going up pegboards, and then they see them doing cleans and these other things. And I think that it almost is like maybe that little carrot that somebody needs to have intrigue and feel like they could beat these athletes to maybe then at least get them talking about it. And maybe they're not the ones that go to a CrossFit gym, but maybe like the third group of friends that hears this story is.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting point, Tommy. And I think, look, having a broadcast partner is better than not having one, because it's going to expose you to a new audience and bring, what's the goal? Drive people into affiliates. It's going to reach people who probably aren't going to affiliates and might get them to walk into one. So that to me is a positive one. And I think like you bring up a really interesting point about, because of the simplicity, and again, that's not a bad thing, that it would have been a lot easier to present that to the layperson audience, I think a good thing. Like, I think that could have worked in their advantage in a broadcast situation. But
Yeah.
then the flip side of that is, like, you look at something like World's Strongest Man, and I'll use Rob Kearney as an example. So you see Rob Kearney or a big dude carrying heavy weight. That's wow. You see a big dude carrying a VW Beetle, you're like, what the, you want to watch. So that spectacle does, like the Capitol or something like that. That does help, I think, amp up the interest a little bit. But
I agree.
I think you could have made that. You could have really done something with the simplicity as far as explaining the CrossFit methodology and how this is stuff we do in the affiliates every day, because you're really just seeing it on the competition floor. That's a really good point.
Because to go back to Lauren's analogy, the guy at the bar, which is something we used to talk about in our production meetings with our directors and producers all the time, is that sometimes if you have to explain the simplicity of the methodology, the guy in the bar is not going to hear that, right? Because you don't get that volume. But also at the same time, in today's day and age where everything is so much media is accessible at your fingertips, if the programming at the games at the peak we'll say fits the simplicity line and is not going to be deviating from what you would see at most gyms or other competitions, then is this going to change someone's mind who already hasn't gone inside an affiliate, right? Because then the question becomes like, well, then why haven't they gone in already? It almost is like this has to separate from what they perceive or what they see online. It's like, you have deadlifts running and or you have, handstand walking. It's like you're going to see that all over online if you look anything related to gym and something CrossFit pops up. But yet that hasn't convinced you before. So and this is where I kind of go back and forth, because to Sean's, it's like, hey, that's when you need to see the VW Beetle show up. You're like, oh, because that's a little bit different, right? It's the max lift being a sandbag and not a back squat. And someone's like, oh, actually, could I pick that up? Like, oh, damn. And that little bit of something adds to it. And I think there are good arguments to be made on both sides, but that's just something that's kind of been rolling around in the dome the last few days.
Well, it's like the Arnold Strongman Classic where they brought out the Wheel of Pain. You can do that. You can test that with a different implement, but right, you can do that, and they have done that in strongman competitions. But now all of a sudden you make a more or less exact replica, except for the height, because if it was as high as the one in the movie, they would not have been able to fit in the building. So they had to shorten it. But everything else was like spot on. A replica of the movie. People would be like, oh my God, is that the Wheel of Pain from Conan? Like, and there's just that little spectacle helps get viewers. But I think from a message standpoint, the simplicity of this year, I think, would have been really good to get out to, would have been really good for a broadcast audience, because you don't need to go like too crazy with stuff.
Yeah, and I will say one last thing. There were some pieces in terms of how the events were laid out that I love that you typically get at the games. I love the addition of multiple boxes in the burpee box jumps. Rather than athletes having to flip the boxes or move the boxes, and having it in a way that was set up that was very clear, that I really enjoyed that. And those are the nuances that I think get tested out and utilized at the games at a very high level. I was also happy to see some things that have been brought up time and time again by Fikowski and the PFAA about athletes traveling the same distance to and from implements and having them reset at certain points to make sure everybody isn't at a disadvantage for that when it comes, in races that come down to half a second, and that matters. So there were some pieces that was really nice to see, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hear from some athletes. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry. No. And then just one more note. I love the games in 3 days. I think that, the athletes were telling me that they were very sore. Their upper bodies were very sore, like more than they have been in past years. So that's a programming thing, and, maybe volume within 3 days thing. But I think that it is possible to repeat it in 3 days. I think that was enough. I think when we're getting into these 5 days, when you don't have masters and teens there, it just, in my opinion, drags it on a little longer. I don't know. 3 days felt like it saves the company a lot of money. It saves a lot of people a lot of money. And if you're not seeing the return, then I think 3 days is repeatable moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because again, regionals were 3 days, and I love regionals. I like 3 day format's great. and it saves CrossFit money, saves the athletes money who have to travel. Like, it's all rolled up into one thing. And if 10 events seem to be enough, I like, from a selfish standpoint as a fan, I want to see more. Like, I like 12. That just seems like a good number, but 10, and they had a good breadth of tests, was enough. You throw 2 more in, God knows by how much Tia wins. Like, just right. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a really good point. 3 days was good.
It also goes back to minimum effective dose, right? If you can find the fittest in 10, why do you need 15? There's again, there's multiple arguments to be made. I will say this, I don't know if it necessarily saves the athletes money if they have check-in on the same day.
True.
So if they're still checking in Sunday, but then again, most athletes are going to be there a couple of weeks ahead of time so it's all the same.
Acclimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break from talking, and let's hear from some of the athletes. So we're going to run through these. Here's who you're going to hear from. You're going to hear from Jonne Koski, Lucy Campbell, and for context, the interview you're going to see with Lucy Campbell, she spoke with Lauren before she had finished on the podium, but at this point it was within reach. All right, it was looking like she was going to finish there. Ty Jenkins, who is going to talk about growing up in the team division and now competing here and kind of representing that next wave of athletes who are making their way to the individual competition. And then Olivia Kerstetter, who's got a good story about Jacob Hebner, who Jacob, if you didn't see during the games, I think it was on social media, had this great video that he posted about talking to Olivia when she was 8 years old and wanted to start doing CrossFit, and even posted a picture of the two of them. It was awesome. Okay, so here's a sampling of some of the interviews that Lauren was able to collect during her time in Albany.
If you can, sum up what a decade of competing at the games has taught you about yourself, whether it's athletic ability, whether it's personality, what would it be for you?
Yeah, it's kind of pretty deep question. I'm sure it's, I've grown so much during these 10 years, comparing myself to the little 19-year-old kid coming here or to the LA first time. It's a major change, I think, through the discipline and hard work that it requires you to even make it to the games, rather alone finishing close to the top. It grows you, and I guess nothing good comes easy, so you need to be able to and willing to work hard for your goals, whatever they are. And I think that's kind of grown into me and made my I guess I could say it's just stronger overall, mentally as well. Having to go through some hard injuries and missing some competitions and big goals, it always builds character. You have to go and work with yourself and work with your thoughts and get over those. And that's not always easy. And keeping or the way I've felt that past years even is I've been getting physically a lot better. The rest of the field just keeps getting better and better, and also younger. So I think it needs what I learned a lot during this weekend, that it's so much mental game as well. I kind of lost my focus or self-belief there for a while again the first 2 days, and once you lose that, it's even if you're physically able to do that, it's you don't stand a chance. So yeah, this last day feels like I've been getting some of that mojo back a little bit. Maybe that comes from experience, not giving up before the game's fully over.
Take me back to you're in the doctor's office. The doctor is saying you will never CrossFit again. When you think of that and that you're here, what are the emotions that run through you?
I'm really trying hard not to think about that right now. In the midst of the comp, I think once the dust is settled and we've come out the other side, and in the run up to this I was thinking about it a little bit, but I think the thing is that the whole process was so much harder than that. It wasn't just that one conversation, it was the fact that when I came around from what should have been a really simple surgery, my mum wouldn't tell me what happened. My mum wouldn't tell me what the doctor said. She was like, I want you to wait and talk to the doctor, but it wasn't quite as simple as we had hoped. And I think as soon as she said that, it was just my gut dropped, and I knew that it wasn't going to be what we thought it was and the recovery that we thought it was. And obviously at that point in time, we were hoping that it was very much just a 1 season out sort of job. And as I've said before, like it's never just been about getting back to CrossFit. Like I love sport in general, and I'm right-handed dominant. And so having a right wrist injury is a real sort of fuck up. So it's just, you know, it was that scared me the most. Like, what if I can't pick up kids or grandkids? What if I can't play squash with my mum ever again? Like, what if I can't journal properly again? And that's a habit that I haven't got back into yet, because it is a habit, and it really did hurt my wrist. And so I sort of didn't have that default to go to deal with my emotions properly in terms of just getting them out in the page. And it was all that stuff that scared me more than just getting back to CrossFit. And obviously, like, I'm so grateful to be back here. And I think I wouldn't be back at this level had I not gone through all the shit. But yeah, it just, like, that conversation, I'm very grateful that I found a surgeon that could help me figure it out.
We're also kind of at this shift where we're seeing more athletes come up from the teen division into the elite men. What do you have to say to that when it comes to aging up and having that transitional period?
I mean, the transition's hard. Obviously, men tend to develop later. You know, you hear a lot of stories about guys putting on a ton of size or growing super tall in their college age years. And I mean, I'm a freshman in college right now, so there's like still room to grow, but trying to blitz that process is hard. You know, you're fighting like actually growing up physically, not just in the sport. And so it just took lots of reevaluating what weaknesses are. You know, what I was good at in the teen division changes when you're on the floor with the elites. I was one of the stronger teens, and then I took 19th on a back squat today. So it's like, you just have to find your new weaknesses and attack them. But I love seeing more teams make the jump. It's sort of becoming a little bit of a feeder program, like for our prodigies. And so I'm excited. In 3 weeks, I'll actually be up at the Teen CrossFit Games as an MC, just continuing to support those divisions. Even though it's been separated from the games with the elites, I want kids to get excited about it, want to dive into it, because you produce amazing athletes out of that division, like Lucy McGonigal, Olivia Kerstetter, Dallin Pepper, all teen phenoms who are here on the big stage this weekend.
You started this when you were just 8 years old. I think Jacob Hebner put out a post today. You know, most people were getting their backpacks getting ready for school and had books in them. You had weight in your bag as you were practicing CrossFit.
Yeah.
What would your 8-year-old self, or what would you say to your 8-year-old self right in this moment that you're out here at the games?
I guess just not to give up, because that's what I did. I mean, I never gave up, and I'm like finally accomplishing my like 8-year-old self's goals of like competing at the CrossFit Games against the best in the world. So I think she'd be pretty happy looking at me and seeing that I didn't give up, especially like last year I could have given up, like anything like that. I could have given up multiple times now and I didn't. And so I think she'd be proud, and I would just tell her, yeah, not to give up, because the goals are within reach now.
I think Lucy Campbell was probably the best story of the games, and one of the best stories in a while, just comeback stories. And the fact that she was told, and you know, we've interviewed her during this whole ordeal, that maybe she wasn't going to be able to compete again, that, you know, she has to do that weird front squat that where she cleans it and then she puts an arm out because she can't, and still finish second. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. I don't know anybody who wasn't cheering for her. You know, like everybody wanted to see her do well. I'm so happy for her. I can't imagine what it would be like to be told that you're not gonna be able to do what you love ever again. And then to be able to come back and have that kind of success, just like the feeling of that has got to be incredible.
And when I'm asking her about it, and she's saying that, you know, doctors told me I could never CrossFit again. And then she hits me with, I thought that I would never be able to hold kids, hold grandkids, and never have I felt like I needed to cry during an interview. And Lucy Campbell just talking about that. And I'm like, oh my God, like real things that you wouldn't be able to do. And now you end up on the podium at the CrossFit Games in second.
Yeah. And getting back to why this was so entertaining is like you had stories like that embedded in the competition, which always makes it so much better.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's so. I know there's a CrossFit documentary being made this year. I know that was in. I know some people that were out there working on that. If that's not a major storyline in the movie, and if there isn't content being made by CrossFit around that story, and she isn't followed heavily in the next year, that would be a shame, because that is this is one of the best stories that I have seen in my 15, 16 years doing this, just period. And that human element of like, it's not just, and I think sometimes people would look at it differently. And I don't think this is fair. If it were like a debilitating knee or a hip or like a shoulder or like a head injury, I think people would look at it differently. And I think people tend to look at like hand and wrist stuff and almost kind of downplay it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think
it's like a toe injury.
Exactly. I mean, it's like remember how people used to make fun of turf toe?
Oh God!
Back
dude,
in the day,
had it hurts like.
But
hell.
it's the worst. It's
it
the
is.
Dude,
yeah.
Dion had to have toes amputated because of it. But
really,
and that's oh yeah. Oh
I didn't realize that.
It's crazy. But that's the thing. I think there was a stigma about those types of injuries. But her kind of even talking about the future, I think, brings the reality of the situation a little bit more into focus. And I couldn't be happier for Lucy. She's just a fantastic human, and it's been awesome to see this comeback to her. And honestly, can you think of a better year from an athlete that like hasn't been at the top of the sport very long? You win Wadapalooza, you have great performances across the board, you podium at the games. It's like, it's one, I would say, if she hadn't already made the games before, it'd be one of the best breakout seasons, period. Right?
Yeah.
Because even someone like Tia and Matt in their first year finished second at the games.
Crazy. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, well, let's talk about moving forward now, because I think you see a lot of posts from people close to this. Oh, we're back. We're so back.
Does that feel coordinated for you? It feels like everyone is saying
it does,
we're
but
back.
It's okay.
Like
it's okay. Like I get that, because being part of competitions, I know that high coming out of it, so I'm totally fine with it. The only thing I would say is like just pump the brakes for a second, and I don't think we're gonna know if we're back, like if quote unquote we're back or not, until we get to the Open. Till we see what kind of open registration looks like. Like is affiliate growth,
until we see who is buying CrossFit.
Like that exactly. There's a lot of things that need to be decided. This was again a very good jumping off point to build momentum going on. But I'm not ready to jump on the whole like, oh yeah, we're without a doubt we're back, because I want to see what open registration looks like. I'm pretty sure it's going to be better. I want to see if some of those people who felt like they didn't, like big name athletes who sat this season out, are willing to come back and say, okay, this looks like things have changed, and I'm willing to now that you'll be part of this again. So there's some more things that need to happen before I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. But again, I think this is a positive, it's a step in the right direction. But for me, it's like, well, what now needs to happen to build on this momentum? And I keep coming back to finding a way to figure out the spot, the period of time between Open and the games. We know everybody loves the Open who does it. We know everybody loves the games. The problem has been what happens in between there. And I'm still, and I'm like willing to die on this hill, I still think Open Regionals Games was by far the best format that we had for numerous reasons. I understand like why that is not doable now because of financial reasons and things like that. I think there might be a way to maybe figure that out and come up with something like it. But what I really liked about it is that it gave you a break, right? You got a break from the Open. So things there was a lull. And then they built back up, because in regionals here, we had like 4 or 5 weeks of straight competition. And there was a lull again, and then we built back up for the games. The constant one competition a week, I don't know. I like having a break. And I think you had those 4 straight weeks of nothing but competitions, and then you had a lull, and then you had the games. And just watching the coverage just reminds me of like why I miss that element so much. And to me, that's the big key for them to figure out is what happens there? Or is it going to be business as usual with an online semifinal and then in-person qualifiers that are at different times? while that worked this year, I don't know if that's the best way to carry momentum.
Yeah, that's tough because I agree with you on the format. And really, I think the word I had written down here and answering that is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's consistency on all fronts. And I think multiple things have to happen in order for that to happen, because I think it's going to be a domino type effect. Whatever's going to happen with the sale of the company needs to happen ASAP. Whatever changes and stuff that's going to be implemented that could potentially shake the tree, could reshape whatever, needs to happen quickly. And then whatever format you're going to pick, which I hope it's not the same style format in terms of schedule, I think there's a way to maybe rein it in a little bit so things aren't so spread out. That needs to be hit, and it needs to stay that way, because this constant recycling of season formats and changing here and there, it gets exhausting, and you get people. I mean, you get fan and athlete fatigue, and you constantly feel like you don't know where to go for information. And I think that's going to be huge if you can get this new ownership group right in, because I do think I think one of the key aspects, because we have to acknowledge there is a significant portion of people that are fed up with the current leadership at CrossFit. And
but that's
they
been going
don't
on for a while.
Yeah. And they don't feel like what has been done in terms of transparency, in terms of honesty, is sufficient. And I think they are also looking to the sale of the company as being a turning of the page from that type of chapter to hopefully usher in the change that they want, or in the very least get a clean break from that type of leadership and move forward, right? Whether that's fair or whether that's not, I think that's a big part of it. So I think the sale of CrossFit and getting the new leadership from that is a way to kind of start to pull those people back in, right? And commit to something long term, like, hey, this is gonna be the way moving forward, and draw those lines there. Because even remember back in 2020, it did feel like there was a little bit of a boost back up once the company sold, and from people felt like, okay, this could be something new and I'm willing to give it a chance. So that's really what it comes down to. I agree with you on the format, make a format, but stick to it. And then the consistency of top to bottom. Because I think the affiliate side and methodology side is pretty good. Like, I don't think there needs to really be any changes there.
I mean, and the affiliate owners like have the buy-in right now. I heard of at least a handful of affiliate owners that were either from the West Coast or the Midwest that flew all the way to Albany for the affiliate summit conference. Didn't even stay for the CrossFit Games and then flew back. Like, it was so important to them, and they're so passionate about it that they're willing to take time to like come for this one thing. So yeah, I would say that like the affiliates that are still around are strong, and it's like building the culture back.
And getting back to the sports side of things, I think that, like, if you just looked at the arena, right, the attendance there, not what they wanted, but the views online were super strong, right? So
really good.
There's still an appetite for people to want to watch live competition. So I think what I would love to see, and this is a pipe dream, and I don't know how you would make it happen, but I always go back to the Mayhem Classic. You had a qualifying event in an affiliate, not many people on site. You had enough, but you had a quality stream, that they put some resources behind. A lot of people that were involved in the games broadcast were involved with that, as far as like behind the scenes and organizing that. And if you can get that level at a smaller venue and not worry so much about the in-person, but worry more about the streaming, because if you can get, there were more than 100,000 people watching at one point when I tuned in to the games. Like that, those are real numbers that sponsors can, like, oh, okay, I'll get behind that. I would love to see if they could find a way to find these bigger affiliates where you could.
Why don't we leverage the training camps?
Something like that, to where you had regionals inside of affiliates. You could find 9 or 10 around the world, I bet, that were big enough to hold individual competition. Teams, I'm not sure you could do, but if you had 40 individuals and you ran it over multiple days and you didn't worry about, everything had to be laid out the same, but you had enough room and you could, and again, there's a lot that would need to happen. But that to me is like, they've talked about bringing competition back to the affiliates, getting the affiliates involved some more. If you have them involved in the open and then some sort of qualifying thing, and then the games, because I talk to people at my gym who would be like, man, I miss regionals. We used to like all get together,
same.
we'd go and we'd drive and we'd like tailgate and we'd cheer. Like, well, why can't we bring that experience into an affiliate? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people that would have to get into a room to figure that out, but there have got to be a handful of facilities around the world where that could be a possibility.
Well, and then that kind of forces people, if they can't go to any of those, to invest and go to the games.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same reason why their CrossFit events in Europe are packed out, because there's so few of them for like major elite athletes that everybody goes when the French Throwdown comes to town.
Yeah.
Everybody goes when FitFest is there. And I think that by doing that, Sean, you do two things. You put it back in the affiliate and bring that community. And then the people in those affiliates, they know these athletes and they can enjoy the sport. And then it also will hopefully sell tickets at the big event at the end of the year.
And you could even do smaller venues. I'm just saying, worry less about the in-person crowd and worry more about the eyeballs you're going to get if you put on a really good quality broadcast. And like that interests sponsors. If you're going to have 200 people on site, fine. But if you have 80,000 people watching, that's where I think the focus should be. And how you do that, I don't know. But I would love to see smaller venues, better production. I know that costs a lot of money. I know this is like, great idea, but here's the reality. But that's what I would love to see. Yeah, exactly. Right. But I'm just trying to think about how to recapture that regional feeling. Because again, I talk to people at my gym who they're not huge fans, but they loved regionals because they would go and they would all wear their gym gear and they would be in a smaller venue. Like there was one I remember when it was here in my backyard in San Jose State, they played at the basketball arena. That's not a big arena, right? It's a small arena, but it was pretty packed for regionals and it was great.
Yeah. 2014. I remember that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that year. And there's a handful of things that can kind of build off of that. Obviously, getting the regionals vibe back in a way that's more financially viable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very clear that unless the new owners come in and they want to invest a lot of money, right?
Sure.
And try and bring that back and then do that. That would be great. I also like, and maybe I don't know if I just didn't hear it, but like 40% of the CrossFit Games field this year qualified for the games as a teenager.
Wow.
That means they competed in the teenage division.
That's cool.
And they did so during the time when we had everything working together in unison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, like I hate to use the term sideshow, but because I do think separating this year between those is important and last year too, I think was also very important. But there was some cohesiveness across the board, and I think anyone that just kind of writes off the age group divisions, it could be missing out on like, hey, we used to say this all the time. These could be the sport's future stars, and that's absolutely true. And that's without the Mal O'Briens, the Emma Careys, the Emma Lawsons. Like that 40% is without those people. The people that are undoubtedly could start training tomorrow and probably qualify for the games again. No problem. So it's the keeping and I think this is a major, bigger picture thing, but keeping the young people engaged in the methodology first and foremost. And then as a byproduct of that, the sport, I think is important. Because I'll be honest, everywhere I go, one of the things I check in on is a CrossFit Kids or teenage program. Do they have it? Is it engaging? Are they actively making sure that the training is attractive to not just the parents, but the kids and everyone else in that circle? And I have to say, it feels like it's been dwindling lately. And
there aren't many around me. There's one gym I think in my area that offers a CrossFit Kids class. I could be wrong, one or two. I know of.
And we used to have a teenage class at the gym. I know a gym that split off of CrossFit Santa Cruz. Shout out our friend Kara Hipskin. Primarily taught teenagers and then opened up her own gym. So it's maybe it's just a little bit the ebbs and flows of it. I mean, hell, kids today aren't even getting their driver's license. So,
well, I know my gym just started a teen class.
That's good.
Yeah, I just remember that. Yeah.
Keep that going, because I mean, not only are the health and fitness and wellness benefits first and foremost the most important aspect of that, but it also keeps. It's also like, what are all the benefits of sport, right, that we've found across our lifetimes for people and what they've been able to garner from it, and it also keeps them interested in something that's like, could turn into something really cool, like a profession in the future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also think too, like, the reason I want to see it go back to sort of open regionals games, I want the open to matter again. I miss those days of, who's going to be who's making it in the top 40, and those old stories of Pat Burke sitting there watching the leaderboard with a loaded barbell as the deadline approaches, not knowing if he's going to need to do the workout again, like that kind of stuff. I know it's stressful on the athletes because they got to. I get that, but as a fan, it's fun. Like, I miss that because now the Open is a formality. It's a great community event. Like, that's awesome, but I just miss the drama of it. I miss all the leaderboard watching, all that stuff. So I'd love to find a way to bring that back. And I also know that affiliates hate this. I want to go back to a 5-week Open. I love the 5-week Open. I was talking to a coach from my gym the other night, and I was like, I wanted to go back to 5 weeks, and he kind of gave me and so I get that. I know, again, I know I'm being just like Pollyannish, like perfect world. If I had my way, king for a day, there's no barriers. But I miss that.
But I think I think at least nowadays, as I look back, the reward of the 5-week Open is bigger than the cost, right?
Sure.
The bigger the party, the bigger the cleanup, but everybody remembers the bigger party. So
that's right. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to get to before we focus on what's ahead?
I mean, we covered some of it on our day 3 recap, but just like some of the amazing performances, and really like hats off to all the athletes that showed up and competed. You go down the list, because a lot of times we focus on elements of like just the podium. Olivia's performance in that final event, that's championship resolve right there. I thought Danielle Brandon did an excellent job, like very sneakily tying her career best finish. Maddie Sturt, Miriam, both excellent performances. I think Maddie had a pact with Jay Crouch that they both were going to finish 6th, so neither one could have the upper hand in that situation, So, but even Miriam going from Open champion, not qualifying, to doing so in a very big way at the games, I think is really relevant, because that also is a storyline that we used to always talk about throughout the season, and the Open mattering in a way that is palpable at the CrossFit Games. And then you go, Annika Greer making through the top 10, Alexis Raptis, despite a back injury, finishing 10th. Like, all of those performances on the women's side, deserve talking to. Lydia Fish, tremendous job. And
and her fans were awesome too. Like, that's the stuff we see in regionals all the time, right?
Guys, I spoke with her mom, her dad, her siblings, her fiance. They are some of the coolest people. And her dad doesn't really know much about CrossFit, but then I would ask him a CrossFit question and he would know the answer. And his mom goes, he's a closet podcast watcher. He just won't watch them with me, but he's watching and staying in the know of CrossFit. And they were just like so freaking cool. And in the stands with like their fish hats, I loved it. And Lydia had no idea that they were going to show up that way. And that makes it even more fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, look, overall, it was a great weekend. I think it was a great weekend. I enjoyed it. I really liked watching it. It felt, it felt fun to cheer for things again at the games and like get into the leaderboard watching. And I mean, every time I looked at the men's leaderboard, I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And I gotta shout out the broadcast crew, Chase and Adrian and Mike Arsenault, like 3 total pros. Chase did a fantastic job. I felt bad for him last year because he finally got a chance to kind of show what he was capable of, and then what happened. Yeah, he deserved a clean run, and I'm really glad he got it because he did a phenomenal job. He said stuff where I was like, damn it, I wish I would have thought of that. Like, I had broadcaster envy. So it was the whole team did a great job. Joel Godet. Every time I listen to Joel Godet, I realize, man, I got to do more research. Like, that guy sets the standard with with that stuff.
He's on point for sure.
He's great. Yeah, they all did a fantastic job. And then Lauren, I gotta give you a shout out because, like I said, I know you worked super hard, and I was literally looking at my phone going, how is she doing this? Like every 2 minutes there was a new interview up. So thank you for all that hard work, because I got to experience some athlete interviews that I would not have gotten to experience had it not been for you. So I really appreciate that. That was awesome.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, let's get to community support, because we have one here. I'm going to call this up on the screen. So there's a hero workout coming up. This was sent to us. This is join us during the month of August to memorialize Lieutenant Colonel Zach Hall. On August 5th, 2022, my friend, mentor, and brother, Colonel Zachary G. Hall, suffered a sudden cardiac event and passed away unexpectedly. Colonel Hall was a true American hero. He was a curious academic, devout Christian, skilled aviator, recognized athlete, decorated officer, and impeccable gentleman. Most importantly, he was a devoted husband and father, beloved son, and loyal brother. Zach had a fierce love for his family. He married the love of his life in 2003, and together they were raising 4 incredible, intelligent, and kind children. His charisma, energy, generosity, integrity, and loyalty are all unmatched. To know Zach was to love him. And the workout is the 20 August 2022 is what it's called. It's a 1,000-meter run for 1,000+ combat hours. Then 6 rounds of 4 clean and jerks. There's 4 kids, 17 push-ups because he was a C-17 pilot, 44 double unders for his age, and 1 muscle up for his wife and best friend. Then you do 160 sit-ups. So that's how many combat missions he flew.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you want to partake in that, that's what's going on all this August. So just certainly wanted to get the word out on that, because
and definitely if you see the account on our screen, you can also fit the number 4 flight _ what is that, PVV, I believe.
Yes.
And they have multiple versions, scaled versions, no equipment versions, and then an explanation of, like Sean gave, all behind it. We've actually promoted this in the past, and this is an annual thing, and they're still raising money at that same Instagram handle. They're still raising money for it too. And if you go to GoFundMe.com, you can look up Colonel Zachary Hall, and it'll take you to that fundraising page too.
Awesome. All right. If you guys have anything you want us to get the word out on, please send it to us via our personal Instagram accounts or our Talking Elite Fitness Instagram account. Send us all the details that you possibly can, because we want to get people to the right spot to get whoever you're trying to help out the assistance that they need. All right. PRs, no reps. We got no rep.
Oh, yeah.
No rep. Oh, you okay, Lauren? That was an enthusiastic, like you've been waiting to share this no rep.
I've got 2, and one of them is for the man sitting below us, Sean.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
You know what I am going to no rep Mr. Tomas Marquez. Tommy, do you know why you're being no repped?
Maybe because of you can no longer eat a Caesar salad.
What
today on Q&A,
Sean's so confused.
Tommy blew my mind in the worst possible way. It was like I went to Disney World and Mickey Mouse took his mask off in front of me, and my 8-year-old self and soul just totally left my body, and I cried for the rest of my life because Tommy.
Sean, can I do this real quick?
Yeah,
I have a question. If I told you what's a key ingredient in Caesar dressing, what would you say?
Isn't it like mayonnaise or something?
Okay, maybe you don't know.
I don't know.
Anchovies.
I don't eat a lot of anchovies. I don't eat a lot of Caesar dressing. So.
Oh.
But did you know
anchovies
that?
I did not know that. I find Caesar dressing somewhat disgusting. So.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I take that back. I take that back. No, I do like. Sorry. No. Yes, I do like I do like a good Caesar salad. I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of ranch. I don't like ranch. I like.
Me either. Okay, we're friends again.
Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. This took a turn. We're gonna have to talk about that offline. But right. Yes.
So anchovies. Got it. All right.
So I was convinced that like only a very few amount of Caesar dressing had anchovies, and it's when you have that really bad aftertaste in your mouth. And I'm like, oh man, that Caesar must have had anchovies. And then Tommy's like, it's one of the main ingredients. So then, of course, I do what any intelligent person would do these days. I chat GPT, I ask, and they start listing out like the brands and the restaurants that use anchovies. And Ken's which is my favorite condiment brand, has anchovies in theirs.
Oh dear.
You should have seen
So,
she melted down in real time when I told her that.
yeah.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
Lauren.
People were upset for my safety after that conversation in the chat. So that's the first no rep. The second no rep is the unforsaken smell of the location of where the athletes had to walk from one end to another, where I spent day in and day out because there was a vent for whatever food was being cooked. And on the final day, it was some kind of fish. And that was mixed with the smell of marijuana and the smell of BO and the smell of garbage. And I showed up and I was dry heaving, and I'm pretty sure I threw up in my mouth a little bit. So the
God.
smells of Albany.
Okay. That's intense.
No
All
rep.
right.
No
Really
rep.
seals in the
Okay.
flavor.
Yeah, not okay.
All right, Tom, you got a no rep?
I'm gonna know of anyone who doubted the Fantastic Four movie
Really? Was it
and the
good? I haven't seen
casting
it.
of Pedro Pascal. It is,
That
for
guy's a
lack of a
great
better
actor.
term, it's
Pedro is
fantastic.
wonderful.
Okay.
I haven't seen this
It-
movie,
it-
but I like him.
Definitely go see it. It is a really cool, I would say, upgraded tech version of a period piece from like the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
In the styling of it, the storytelling is great, the CGI and like all of that is great, the casting was great. It was one of the better Marvel movies that I've seen in a while, and
Okay.
it wasn't necessarily initially tied to all the normal MCU.
Mhm.
I have a sneaking suspicion it will, for sure. I know for a fact it will, but I thought it was great. It was really well done. Definitely hit me in the feels too as a new father too.
Okay. Yes. All right. So you PR'd that. So we're on it. You
Yes.
didn't have no rep?
I know repped people who
Oh,
were
no,
doubting
doubted. Got it.
We're
because there was
doubting it.
And
because there
turned
was
it
a
into a
lot
little bit of PR. Got it.
because there was a
Okay.
lot of heat about
Well-
Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards.
God, come on. All right. I don't have a no rep. You got PRs?
Yeah.
All right.
I got two.
All right, Tommy, let's go back around the horn.
Okay.
Quick one. I'm gonna PR Barkley Dale. His Apollo rankings coming into the weekend had Hopper at number 1.
Barkley I love Barkley Dale.
I love
Yeah.
Barkley Dale.
That guy
too.
is a human mentat. Like, he is a mentat. He's the closest thing to a mentat that we have. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll never forget being up there, like, trying to figure out scores, and Barkley's is a spreadsheet. He's like, yeah, there it is. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. I programmed this whole thing. It pulls from all these different, and he's like, his eyes are rolling in the back of the head, and he's doing all these calculations. But great human being, smart dude. Love his website. You're the man, Barkley.
Yep. So PR for that, and then I'm also PRing babies because the member of the Sawyer's family just grew by 1 to Marston.
Congratulations.
And his lovely partner Caitlin, the birth of Sage.
Congratulations, Mars.
Yep, epic. I never.
Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Do you ever think you'd see the day, Sean, where you're
God, no. Going into his office.
Yep.
I'm talking to that dude. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's from another planet. Yeah.
Now he is a
guy.
human.
Great guy. I know he's going to be an awesome dad. Like, Mars is
He
going
is,
to be a
dude.
fantastic father. So,
Yeah.
Congratulations to the two of them. PR,
Mhm.
Lauren.
I am going to PR, and y'all both know them, Jeff and Eden Rogers. We all know Eden, 13 years old.
Yes.
She shows up, her and her dad, to every CrossFit event, and
They're
they
amazing.
spent 2 full days with me where I was like posted on my stoop, because that's where Eden could get high fives from every athlete. That's where she had t-shirts. Every athlete is signing for her.
That's
And
so
just
cool.
like watching her experience it was just like it warmed my heart. We know her dad Jeff. They're just really, really wonderful people, and being
Mhm.
able to spend 2 full days with them, like, I'm just so grateful for. Like, between watching Eden and talking about the games with Jeff, it really made my weekend. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I love seeing those two, because
It's the
it's
best.
so fun.
Mhm.
You forget how things are sometimes when you're a kid, and then when you get to see the enthusiasm, through their eyes. Like, it's just, you're like, man, this is the best. Yeah. And I love
and like the
seeing those.
athletes that were giving Eden like shoes, weightlifting belts, taking their games shirt right off and giving it to her. Like, oh my God, that, like, what other sport could you attend where athletes are giving you stuff off of their back? It
Man,
just,
the reason why to this day I am a Brett Hull fan is that they played preseason games in Sacramento when I was like 14 years old, and I was kind of beginning my hockey career, and we got to go see them practice. And he came off the ice and he said, "Hey guys, what's up?" And he signed an autograph for me, and then he gave me a stick blade. He's like, "Hey, I just brought you want that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want that." Like that kind of stuff, like, just has the kids remember that forever. Like, I'll never forget that Brett Hull did that for me. Like, so I love Brett Hull now. He wasn't even a king. So yeah, that stuff makes a huge difference. And
and then one more really quick PR. Sean, this one's for you. Pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks comes out on August 26th.
No way!
Mark the calendar.
August?
Get it on the calendar.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
August 26th.
Come on. Are you
That's
serious?
ridiculous.
I'm serious.
No, it's got to be October.
Nope.
We need to have
August
regular season football before the freaking. Oh, come on.
You can be at the beach sipping your PSL.
No, you can't be. That's wrong.
That's not a beach drink. That's not a beach.
That's a no rep.
It is unless if you want it to be.
All right. Well, my PR is, I'm going to call this up on the screen because this just happened. All right, this is pretty cool. So my PR, I'm gonna PR Less Than Jake. They were awesome, right? So this is us. This is me, my son, and Frankie. He's from the gym. And Max really likes Roger right here. Roger's the bass player. And so Max drew Roger a picture, and Roger was like really cool about it. He's like, I'm going to put this up on the tour bus. And Roger, 6 hours ago, just commented, the bass player commented on my post with a heart. So there you go. So these guys, they couldn't have been nicer. Like, they were all talking to Max and high-fiving him and stuff. And I've been watching these guys for like almost 30 years. And to have that experience with my son and the way, like, it's cool as they were about it. And, you know, I was a little nervous because we were way out past bedtime, like way, way, way out past bedtime.
Don't tell mama.
I don't know how she was about that. But as we got out of the building, right, we came out, and Max had his headphones on. He takes them off, and I'm like, oh God, I hope he doesn't melt down about how tired he is. He just goes, "That was awesome." I'm like, yes, all right, we're good. You can follow. Like, I carried him to the car. You know, it was the best, and those guys were fantastic with him. And just when you see people take time out to be nice to kids like that and make their day, like, he's going to remember that for the rest of his life. Yeah. He's like, "Dad, I wasn't even nervous. They were really nice." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you." You know, so it was. Anyway, thank you to them. They were fantastic. So, okay, well, we got some stuff coming up. Like, we're still, like, this is a good time of year because we have World Fitness Project Tour Stop number Dos coming up. Mm-hmm. That's in Arizona. Mm-hmm. We have Masters Games coming up at the end of the month. Tommy and I will both be in Columbus for that. We got, what else we have on the horizon? Wadapalooza, SoCal. We got the Rogue Invitational quickly approaching around Halloween, which is when the pumpkin spice latte should really be unveiled. It should be in October. I can't believe that. I'm so just.
Yeah.
August.
The more you know.
August.
When's Labor Day? Is it, if it's before Labor Day?
That is before Labor Day. Yeah, guys.
That's not right.
Go to the beach.
No. That's like remember the Shamrock Shake? That's like having the Shamrock Shake in December.
Yeah.
I love Shamrock Shake.
Of course, who doesn't? But it's a March thing.
I would have that right now.
Of course you would, but it's a special thing, and we just okay. Anyway. That's it. We're gonna end on that note. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, we got a lot of good stuff coming up, so we're gonna be here with you every step of the way. So we will talk to you guys next week. For Lauren Khalil and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other, be better, and we will talk to you guys next time.